Most car engines today stick to a familiar formula. Even the ones that stand out, like Porsche's flat sixes or Fiat's quirky two-cylinder engines, follow time-tested engineering principles that have shaped the industry for over half a century. But not every car manufacturer follows the rulebook when crafting their engines. Some of these designs are just peculiar enough to make you do a double take, while others are downright off-the-wall, shirt-ripping, stranger-hugging levels of madness. Whether driven by a quest for efficiency or simply the result of unbridled creativity, here are 15 of the strangest engines of all time that are anything but ordinary. Let's start with number 15, Cadillac V8 Engine. The Cadillac 368 engine from the early 1980s may seem ordinary at first glance, but its V8 6.4 configuration was straight-up chaotic. Instead of developing a more efficient engine to meet fuel economy and emission standards, Cadillac took an existing detuned V8 and added a cylinder deactivation system. Once the car was in motion, 2 to 4 cylinders could shut down, theoretically improving efficiency. The 368 CI engine delivered 140 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission. The 1981 Eldorado, one of the models featuring this engine, managed 0 to 60 miles per hour in 12.7 seconds and a top speed of 110 miles per hour. But here's the issue. The cylinder deactivation was unreliable, often leaving drivers in 4-cylinder mode when they needed full V8 power. Many bypassed the system entirely, reverting to a permanent V8 setup. After 1 year of poor performance and frustrated customers, Cadillac quietly abandoned the V8 to 6.4 experiment, marking it as a lesson in overcomplication. Number 14, Volkswagen VR6. Volkswagen's VR6 engine, nicknamed the Staggered Six, proved that bold engineering can sometimes pay off. Unlike traditional V6 engines with cylinder banks at a 45-degree angle, the VR6 compressed the angle to just 10.5 degrees, creating a super compact design. This unique configuration allowed the engine to use a single-cylinder head, saving weight and space while maintaining impressive performance. The 3.6-liter VR6 produced 276 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission. In the 2004 Volkswagen Touareg, it propelled the SUV from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.8 seconds, with a top speed of 128 miles per hour. The VR6 also appeared in other models and even shared its engineering DNA with Porsche's Cayenne. Despite its unusual design, the VR6 proved to be a durable, reliable, and versatile engine. Its success shows that sometimes unconventional ideas, when executed well, can redefine what's possible in internal combustion engines. Number 13, Chiseta Marauder V16T. The 1991 Chiseta Marauder V16T might not be a household name, but it delivered a supercar experience unlike any other. Its centerpiece was a 6.0-liter transverse V16 engine, essentially 2 V8 engines fused together. With 64 valves, 8 overhead camshafts, and 4-cylinder heads, the V16T was a mechanical marvel that redefined engine design. This twin V8 powerhouse generated 540 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, rocketing the car from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.3 seconds. Is it top speed? A blistering 204 miles per hour. Despite its outrageous specs, only 13 units were built between 1991 and 2003 due to the painstakingly slow production process. While rivaling McLarens and Ferraris of the era, the Chiseta Marauder remains a rare gem in the automotive world. Surprisingly, you can still order one today through their active website for a cool $800,000. The V16T is proof that even the quirkiest designs can leave a lasting legacy. Number 12, W16 Engine. The Bugatti Veyron's W16 engine is an engineering marvel that looks like it shouldn't work, yet delivers jaw-dropping performance. Unlike traditional V-pattern engines, the W16 has 4 rows of 4 cylinders, forming a unique and compact configuration. It's extreme in every sense, from its design to its quad-turbocharged powertrain. The 8.0-liter W16 produces an incredible 987 horsepower and 922 pound-feet of torque, catapulting the Veyron from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.4 seconds. Its top speed of 253 miles per hour cemented its place as one of the fastest cars of its time. Bugatti didn't stop at turbocharging. They added 4 turbochargers, elevating the W16's performance to otherworldly levels. This is a once-in-a-lifetime engineering unicorn. Kind of like what would happen if the Apollo space program and Ferdinand Porsche somehow jointly got the Titanic pregnant. If that ain't interesting, we don't know what is. Number 11. H16 Engine. This internal combustion engine has a distinctive design featuring 16 cylinders arranged in an H-shaped configuration. This rare layout aimed to combine the benefits of V-shaped and horizontally opposed engines to maximize power while maintaining a compact design. Among the few vehicles to use it was the innovative BRM P83 race car. The H-shaped design allowed the engine to deliver the power of a larger engine while fitting into a smaller space, making it a revolutionary concept for its time. The BRM P83, equipped with the H16 engine, demonstrated impressive performance on the track, pushing the boundaries of racing technology. However, reliability issues and inconsistent performance hindered the engine's broader adoption and long-term success. Despite its challenges, the H16 engine remains a fascinating example of experimental design. Its unique configuration and bold approach continue to intrigue automotive enthusiasts and engineers, securing its place in history as an emblem of innovation and ambition. Number 10. Flat twin engine. Inline engines were already a thing in 1896, but Carl Benz, yes, that Benz, wasn't done innovating. Instead of a V8, he gave the world a flat twin engine with 2 pistons moving inward and outward together, driving a central crankshaft. It was supposed to be for motorcycles, but it ended up in cars too. The 1905 Ford Model F featured a 127 CI flat twin with 15 horsepower and 18 pound-feet of torque. It couldn't hit 60 miles per hour, forget about it, but it cruised to a top speed of 35 miles per hour. A quarter mile? Try 38.2 seconds. Ford billed the Model F as a luxury car, slapping a $1,200 price tag on it, roughly $41,867. Flat twin engines later showed up in micromobiles from BMW, Toyota, and Citroën, but Ford was the first to embrace this odd yet efficient design. The Model F stood out as the best of the bunch at the turn of the century. Number 9. Packard Straight 12. In the 1920s, Packard was a dominant force in luxury cars and innovative engines. The 1929 Packard 8 featured a robust inline-8 engine, delivering impressive power for the time. But Packard's engineers weren't satisfied. Instead of designing a V12 like everyone else, they built a 577 CI inline 12, producing 150 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. On paper, it was a beast, hitting 0 to 60 miles per hour in 10.03 seconds with a top speed of 85 miles per hour. In reality, it was a mess. The car was so long that it twisted every time the accelerator was pressed, and its chassis couldn't handle the engine's size. Unsettled by the failure, Packard destroyed the engine and discreetly sold the car in Mexico to avoid public humiliation. Despite the disaster, the Straight 12 highlighted Packard's willingness to push engineering boundaries. It's a bizarre yet fascinating chapter in automotive history. What do you think? Number 8. Chrysler Turbine. The 1963 Chrysler Turbine car was a futuristic leap into gas turbine technology. Instead of pistons, its A831 engine used a spinning rotor with blades. Think of a fiery windmill. The engine delivered 130 horsepower and an astonishing 475 pound-feet of torque, pushing the car to a top speed of 120 miles per hour. It could run on almost any fuel, from gasoline to kerosene, making it versatile and ahead of its time. Chrysler experimented with turbine engines from the 1950s, testing them in Plymouth Belvederes, Dodge Darts, and eventually the turbine car. But the engine's complexity, high production costs, and inefficiency prevented it from reaching mass production. When Chrysler was bailed out in 1979, the government required the company to end the turbine program. Although a commercial flop, the Chrysler Turbine car showcased the company's daring innovation. It's a prime example of a great idea held back by the challenges of the era, but its legacy still fascinates enthusiasts. Number 7. Wankel Rotary. The Wankel Rotary engine was unlike anything else. Invented by German engineer Felix Wankel, it replaced pistons with a spinning rotor. This off-center triangle design compressed and ignited fuel, creating smooth, high-revving power. Mazda took this revolutionary concept and turned it into a reality with the 1967 Cosmo L10A. The Cosmo's 982cc twin-rotor engine produced 150 horsepower and 97 pound-feet of torque. It could hit 115 miles per hour and go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 9.9 seconds. A remarkable feat for such a compact engine. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Rotary engines were inefficient and notoriously bad for the environment. Mazda stuck with them until 2012's RX-8, but brought the Rotary back in the 2023 MX-30 hybrid. The Cosmo L10A proved Mazda's ability to innovate and take risks. While the Rotary engine has its flaws, it remains one of the most iconic powertrains in automotive history, cementing Mazda's reputation as a bold trailblazer. Number 6. Oldsmobile Turbo Rocket. Oldsmobile didn't just turbocharge a V8, they made it weird. The 1962 Cutlass Jetfire introduced the Turbo Rocket V8, a 215 CI engine producing 215 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. What made it special and strange was its reliance on rocket fluid, a mixture of methyl alcohol and water used to cool the turbocharger's air intake. This innovative system added about 30 horsepower over the standard V8, enabling the Jetfire to hit 110 miles per hour and go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 9.2 seconds. While the performance was good, the rocket fluid system was finicky and required constant maintenance. By 1964, Oldsmobile scrapped the turbo rocket entirely. It might not have been practical, but it was undeniably cool. It captured the experimental spirit of the 1960s when automakers weren't afraid to take risks. Number 5. The Evaporation Engine. Now, we all know engines are powered by various types of fuel: diesel, gasoline, electricity, and hydrogen. But have you ever heard of an engine powered by bacteria? The Evaporation Engine, developed by researchers at Columbia University, is unlike any other. Instead of conventional fuel, it uses bacterial spores to generate motion. In nature, certain bacterial spores remain dormant until exposed to humidity. Scientists leveraged this ability by coating plastic films with the spores. These films bend and straighten rapidly as they absorb and release water in response to changes in humidity. The engine is essentially a wheel lined with hundreds of these spore-coated tapes. A shutter mechanism creates oscillations by altering humidity levels, causing the tapes to repeatedly expand and contract. While this ingenious technique powered a toy car, it's far from scaling up to human-carrying vehicles. Still, the concept is great, offering the potential to generate more energy per square foot than wind farms and at a fraction of the cost. Number 4. Hemi SRT Demon V8. The 2023 Dodge Challenger Demon 170. Last Call Car is a beast that redefines the limits of a production car engine. At its core is a 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8 that delivers an earth-shattering 1,025 horsepower and 945 pound-feet of torque. For comparison, the classic Mopar 383 Magnum engine, slightly larger at 6.3 liters, produced just 335 horsepower. Modern engineering, combined with a massive 3.0-liter supercharger, triples the output, making this engine one of the most powerful ever put in a production vehicle. The numbers are mind-blowing: 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 1.66 seconds, a quarter mile in 8.91 seconds, and a top speed of 215 miles per hour. While often confused with the Hierophant crate engine, the Demon 170's powertrain builds upon the Hellcat V8 with extensive tuning and durability upgrades. This engine doesn't need rocket fuel or unconventional tech. It stands out for its sheer brute force. Number 3. Turbo Air. Have you heard the old saying, names can be deceiving? Well, Chevrolet took that to heart with their Turbo Air 6 engine. It sounds like it should power a rocket ship, but instead this 2.3-liter flat-6 engine delivered a modest 80 horsepower. Found in the Corvair, the Turbo Air name had drivers dreaming of turbochargers, but there wasn't a single turbo in sight. The air part? That referred to its air-cooled system, which replaced radiators for space-saving efficiency, or so Chevrolet claimed. But here's the kicker. The air cooling often struggled to keep up, leaving the Corvair as hot-headed as a temperamental celebrity. To add insult to injury, the Corvair's other cost-cutting features landed it in the Hall of Shame, famously critiqued in Unsafe at Any Speed. Still, the Turbo Air 6 deserves credit for its quirkiness. It wasn't fast or fancy, but it gave us a lesson in marketing spin, proving that sometimes the name is the only turbocharged thing about the product. Number 2. V10 Engine. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a Dodge Viper? Power, right? And boy, did it deliver, thanks to its monstrous V10 engine. With 8.4 liters of displacement and up to 645 horsepower, this engine wasn't built for the faint-hearted. It had one job: to roar louder and harder than anything else on the road, and it nailed it. But as they say, too many cooks spoil the broth, and with 10 cylinders, things could have gone haywire. Dodge sidestepped that by keeping it simple. 2 valves per cylinder and a pushrod valve train kept the engine light and reliable. And while the Viper stole the spotlight, the V10 also showed up in the Audi R8, Lambo Gallardo, and Porsche Carrera GT, bringing European flair to its American muscle roots. The V10 isn't an everyday engine, it's the joker in the pack, delivering heart-pounding performance and a sound that says, "Get out of my way!" Number 1. V16 Engine. Why settle for a V12 when you can have a V16? That must have been the thought process in the 1930s when the V16 engine burst onto the scene, powering opulent cars like the Cadillac V16 and Marmon 16. These engines weren't just powerhouses, they were statements. As the saying goes, money talks. And in the case of V16-powered cars, it practically shouted. With buttery smooth operation and jaw-dropping performance, the V16 became the ultimate flex for the wealthy elite. But here's the rub. Building and maintaining one was as easy as juggling flaming torches. Unsurprisingly, the V16 faded into the shadows, though not completely. Fast forward to today, and the V16 occasionally reappears, like in the Bugatti Veyron or Rolls-Royce concepts, reminding us that extravagance never truly goes out of style. If engines had personalities, the V16 would be the eccentric billionaire, always over the top, but impossible to ignore. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.